Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to this channel Contracts Unfolded. Here we want to give you everything that is related to contracts. And to start with that, let's answer this very basic question. Why do we need contracts in the first place? And to answer this, let's consider a situation where two people decide to work together. They had meetings, they had discussions, and when they walk out of the meeting rooms, each one has a different memory of what was agreed between them or what was discussed between them. The thing is, we humans are great at talking, but we are terrible at remembering the details. A contract fixes that. A contract freezes the boundaries that was decided between the parties. So without a contract, you must be relying on your memory, you will be relying on the understanding, but this reliance sometimes can lead to business disputes. And to prevent those business disputes, a contract sets clear boundaries for the parties. Now that we have answered it, and we know that business enters into contracts on a day-to-day basis, the thing is, the contracts that were taught us in the law school were all about offer, acceptance, intention to create legal relationships, and consideration. However, in real life, a contract has many clauses, and sometimes it becomes difficult to understand what these clauses are all about. But to simplify that, I can tell you that no matter how lengthy or how short a contract is, a contract can always be divided into three parts. First one is the introductory part of the contract. Then there can be the operative part of the contract. And then there can be the boilerplate part of the contract. In this video, we will talk about the introductory part, and in the following videos of this series, we'll be talking about other parts and other clauses of the contracts. An introductory part or introductory clauses can be considered as the cover page of a contract. While they don't contain the business terms, but they set up the starting of the contracts. They tell what is the title of the contract, what the contract is about, who are the parties entering into the contract, what is the start date of the contract, and what is the intention of the parties to enter into this contract. So now we will look what are the various components of an introductory part of a contract, and we'll talk about them in brief as well. So a contract always starts with the title, and therefore title is the first and the foremost component of the introductory part. A title always appears at the top of the contract, and title basically helps us in identifying the nature of the transaction or the nature of the agreement. While the title itself isn't legally binding upon the parties, however, mentioning a wrong title in a deed sometimes can lead to interpretation disputes. For example, you can't name an end user license agreement as a software as a service agreement, or you can't mention a service agreement as a non-disclosure agreement, because the natures of all these businesses are very different. So as I have already told, the title appears on the top of the contract. So depending on the nature of the contract, it could be a service agreement, it could be a non-disclosure agreement, it could be a shareholders agreement, it could be a professional service agreement, it could be an end user licensing agreement. Now below the title clause, we write the first line of the contract. This agreement is entered into on this date by and between. And below this, we write the details of the party. It is important because first and foremost, it helps us in understanding and identifying who are the parties to the contract. And if in future some dispute happens, then this detail will help us in enforcing the contract against the right party. There are various components to a party details clause. First and foremost is the legal name of the party, the correct legal name of the party. Make sure that you are not using the trade name of a party. You are always using the correct legal name of the party. Then you mention the entity of the party, whether the party is an individual, whether it is a private limited company or a limited liability company, or a partnership or a LLP or a public company, then you enter the registration details. So if it is a private limited company or a public company, then it must be having a corporate identity number, a CIN. Same, it will be having a LLPIN. If you are entering into a contract with the individual, then you should enter the Aadhaar details and the PAN details. And if you are entering into a proprietorship, then you enter the PAN details and the GSTIN details. After this, you enter the registered address of the party. Now, this is very important because every agreement contains a notice clause, and whenever a dispute happens, you are supposed to give notice to the other party. And if the correct address is not mentioned in the agreement, then there are great chances that your notice won't be delivered at the right place and it will be returned unserved. So make sure that you correctly follow the party details. After this, for simplicity purpose, we also use some shorthand for the party name. For example, in a contract, there's a party called ABC Private Limited, and now this name appears 20-30 times in the contract. So instead of using the name ABC Private Limited 20-30 times, we write ABC Private Limited, CIN, this registered address at this place, hereinafter referred to as service provider, or hereinafter referred to as the disclosing party. Now this shorthand entirely depend on the role and the responsibility that particular party is going to perform in the agreement or the contract. Now after writing the details of the parties, we write the recitals of the contract. Recitals helps us in understanding the background and the intention of the parties. Let's say A and B entered into a non-disclosure agreement. Now recitals will help us in understanding why A and B entered into the NDA in the first place. So it can be something as follows. A wanted to develop some application or some website. B was in the business of developing this website or app. And before A could share some trade secret or business details with B, both parties decided to enter into this NDA so that A can use that trade secret or business information for developing this app or website. So this is the recital clause. And now with these, we have covered the introductory part or the preamble or the introductory clauses of the contract. In the next video, we will start talking about the operative clauses. Thank you so much for watching.